Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 11 Deadline stream in partnership with FPL Team, and it's live. It is 10:04 AM on Saturday the 8th of November. We are 56 minutes away from the Gameweek 11 deadline. As per usual, up until 11 o'clock, I'll be trying to answer as many or FPL dilemmas as I can between now and that deadline. Questions will be answered in order of submission. Repeat / similar questions may well be skipped, or may also give short shrift to those where the questions are answered on the screen. Top right hand corner, you will see my team. I've made one free transfer. Enzo Fernandez in for Cody Gakpo. No intention to do anything else. I line up this week: Perry, Timber, Joachim Anderson, Gabriel Sarr, Enzo Fernandez, Bruno Fernandes, Semenyo, Bowen vice captain, Haaland captain, João Pedro on the bench for Bruggen, Wan-Bissaka, Konsa and Josh King. Bottom right hand corner of the screen, you'll see my predicted lineups for all 20 teams playing this game week. To the left of me, you'll see my preference for captaincy. I do not believe we should take Haaland on this week. Next week, let's have a very real serious conversation. I actually think Jared Bowen I've got as next best captaincy option this week. You'll think I'm mad. That's fine. That'll rotate with my correct score predictions for the 10 games this week. Bottom ticker is all the flag players and upcoming 5 weeks. The FDR is courtesy of FPL's official website. And above that and directly below me, you'll see the benching dilemmas, where there are 2 players together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start. They run in order left to right. They run in order of pages 1 to 4. You will find some goalkeeper dilemmas on page 5. Right, that's the major announcements done. Let's get into your questions. I wish you all the very best of luck. Remember, play it your way. Smash a like, everyone. Vivek Gore says, should I start James or Senesi? Reach James, although I do think there's a strong possibility that he might not start today. That's just purely on the basis that he's obviously had a full 90 minutes at Tottenham and Karabag over the last week. Does Reece James play 90 minutes or even close to across 3 games in a week? Doubtful. D.80 says, I've used one free transfer for Gyökeres to Goo to change structure to 2 strikers until game week 16. My worst starting midfielder is Elliot Anderson. Would you take a -4 for Saka, Enzo, or stick with Anderson? I own 0 Arsenal Chelsea attack. Would I take a -4 to go from Elliot Anderson, Bukayo Saka? Yeah, I most probably would, mate. And I think if you can go there at the moment, go there. Sidashan FPL says, hello legend, have João Pedro, Cucurella and on wildcard 13 or 14. One of the below moves. Sell perhaps Sarr to Enzo for the next 2 games for a -4. Bench Gakpo and Diouf. Start Gakpo over Diouf. Start Diouf over Gakpo. I would start Gakpo over Diouf. I would not do the -4. I know I've made that move, Gakpo to Enzo, but for free. I would not have done it for a -4, mate. Dragon Josiowski. To be honest, I very nearly rolled. Dragon Josiowski says, hi James, play Semenyo or Elliot Anderson or Forest. I'll play Semenyo. I fancy Bournemouth tomorrow. Cole Slipper says, hi James, hope you're well. Would you start Reinders or Senesi this week? Oh dear, it's Reinders questions again on the deadline stream. I thought we'd probably be past that now. I would start Reinders, mate. Callie Hoster says, hi mate, hopefully everyone has a good game week. Smash the like button. Yes, smash a like please everyone. It doesn't cost anything, it's free content. JP says, bench 1 out of Enzo and Diet, Voltamade, Sarr, Bumo. With serious reluctance, Illiman and Dyer. Mike says, smash that like button, early watchers. Would you bring in Timber this week, play 4-4-2, or Enzo, play 3-5-2, likely free hit 13? Priority for me would be double Arsenal defence if you're not on it. If you are, and that's to make a treble up, then I would say Enzo. Matt Stasis says, thoughts on 2 free transfers. Porro and Reinders out for Chalobah and Marino. Still have wildcard. Yeah, completely fine with that under the circumstance. I do think Chalobah should play today. Him and Fofana obviously got a rest in midweek, so it should be okay. Marino, we assume, plays the 9 for Arsenal today. Ben Thomas says, I have 2 free transfers, have double Arsenal defence and still have the wild card. Would you sell Gakpo to Enzo, Marino or Sarr, or roll? Feel like transfer needs to be made, or I'll end up wasting them. Other 10 are good. You still have the wild card. I think from the free, preference would be Sarr first and foremost. I'd already got him, obviously, when I got Enzo Fernandez. It was a really close call for me between Marino and Enzo Fernandez. I think just a little bit more clarity on Enzo going into game week 12 was kind of the swinger for me. But if you have a preference for Marino, I'm okay with that. All 3 really good options, mate. The answer is yes, I would. I've done. Harry Baker says, yes, James. Thoughts on who'd start out of Truffert and Lacroix? Cheers, Lacroix. Colleen says, hi, James. Have 1.1 million in the bank. Wildcard plan for 13. So 2 weeks for an upgrade to either Verbruggen, Porro, or Dewsbury Hall. I presume you mean an upgrade from them. No decent mid for 6 million. So looking at Chelsea defence or goalkeeper, what do you think? Yeah, the only thing with a Chelsea defender, like good luck gambling on someone playing this week and in game week 12, I would think the safest call from that is probably Chalobah. But also, the closer you are to the wild card, I would say focus on the attacking players where you can. Bertica says, hey, James, seems to have the same dilemma every week. Play Minter or Semenyo. Cheers, Semenyo. Kalihosa says, should I bench boost? I'm not going to read out the whole starting 11, but I'm scanning it. That looks fine. The bench is Dubravka, King, Lacroix, Diouf. Yeah, that's decent, mate. Yeah, crack on. JGS Kid 95. Start Petrovic or Dubravka. They're both on the bench in dilemmas, mate. Rory says, hey, James, welcome from South Africa. Semenyo or Rangers to play. Semenyo. Aaron McCallan says, morning, mate. Who do I bench from Gakpo, Bumo, and Thiago? Gakpo. Declan Burns says, would you do Porro to Chalobah for a free transfer? Wildcarding in 13. Probably not. No, it's similar to the one before. Is there enough upside? I get it. I definitely don't want to look at Porro in game week 12. Like, I totally understand that. What's your other defensive options? Can you get away with benching him in game week 12? If so, I'd just leave that be. If not, I understand it. But ultimately, you could end up getting one start out of Chalobah here. Greg says, Gordon to Cherky too wild for free. Probably. I don't think he's a certain starter, ultimately. I spoke on the Weekender yesterday about a theory about why Bernardo Silva might be selected to play as kind of City's right-sided forward tomorrow. So a no from me at this stage. That's something that could wait. I get that you want to move on Gordon, Rice, Marino, Sarr, Enzo Fernandez. I can't believe you've got all of them, Greg. Rat Dog says, best differential captain shouts, Bowen, Marino would be my guys if you really, really want to take it on this week, but I wouldn't. Haaland has scored 2 in each of his last 4 Premier League home games, and Liverpool are shite for giving up big chances. It's not this week, mate. Next week, real conversation to take him on. Jordan Williams says, morning, James. Hope all is well. Start Van Dijk or Gakpo this week. Posting this before seeing bench and dilemmas. If it's on there, apologies. You're good, Jordan. You will find them both there. Straightforward one, though, Gakpo. Matt Maher says, on wildcard 13, bench boost this week. Dubravka, Steve, that's Steve, obviously, King, Nico Williams. Would you do Gakpo to Semenyo or Rice? Or I have exact for King to Marino. Ooh, that's really intriguing. And obviously, you don't have a benching headache, Matt. You will do probably for 12. Yeah, I'll tell you what, excuse me, if you can go King to Marino, like that, mate. Ross Cordinley says, bench 2, Gakpo, Rangers, Dewsbury Hall, Van der Ven, Wan-Bissaka. Oh, God, Dewsbury Hall's close between even Wan-Bissaka and Van der Ven. It was close for me picking Joachim Andersen over Wan-Bissaka this week. I'd possibly edge for Wan-Bissaka over Van der Ven. I think... Yikes. Gakpo Rangers, I think, could be in any game, so I would start them. Then it's one from the other 3 to start. Maybe just about edge for Wan-Bissaka on the fixtures. Dewsbury Hall's not here. You're basically sitting there relying on him, like creating a goal from a corner, which he might. That's how it feels to me. And I just sold him recently. Yago says, hi, James. For this week, how would you rank Anderson, Lacroix, Senesi, Minter? Need to bench 2. Quite a headache. Lacroix, the best of those defenders, but I get the confliction there of Minter. Senesi, Anderson's really close. Slight favouritism for Senesi over Anderson. It probably is Lacroix and Minter are probably the 2 best on there. If you don't want to look at the confliction of that, then one of 2 from 3, isn't it? Lacroix, Senesi, Minter. I'd probably have a little favouritism for Minter over Lacroix. Alan Holohan says, would you do Alderete to Calafiori or just play Senesi and do Alderete to Van Dijk next week? I see your thinking here, Alan. My answer to that question will be, how many Arsenal defenders have you got? If the answer is 1, I would go Calafiori now. If you've got 2, I'd wait for Van Dijk next week. Spooky Sorcerer says bench of Dubravka, Estev, Nico Williams, Dewsbury Hall have 2 free transfers and bench boost. Strand Larson to Thiago and bench boost, or also do one of Nico to Saliba, Calafiori, bench Richards, or Dewsbury Hall, Minter, Casado and bench boost. Have Timber, wildcard 13. From that, I think the one I like best, Spooky Saucer, is Strand Larson to Thiago and bench boost, but there's a lot going on now. Murphy says, hey James, what's your advice for people with free hit with no game week jumping out to them in planners? Is there a week that makes sense based on fixtures, or just leave it until something comes up? Yeah, it's I've had this question a lot, and the answer is, well, I don't know what's in your team, right? So there might be a week, I've got 3 defenders that really shit away this week. The bit of advice I will give is, I think the most important thing might ultimately be, rather than how many transfers do I make. I discuss this a lot on our Patreon Q&A Monday, like where's my captaincy opportunity? So you might decide taking Harlow out in 12, putting Salah in is enough reason. You might decide that. So you're looking for a gain, right? Now, obviously, that can go wrong. That's risk and reward, isn't it, if you take that sort of strategy? But it might be that it's that you're looking for a week. You're like, oh, God, shit, like Haaland's at Palace in 16. I don't love that. I'll look at alternatives. I'll go like Saka. And the problem is that fixtures, I don't think, are brilliant that week for teams that you might not own. Like those who have good runs of fixtures still have a decent fixture. City's web. So it's almost that, maybe. Is there a week to take Haaland on? There's obvious gamble in that. But ultimately, if you have a week where you change captaincy, bring someone in, take someone out, and it works, the rest won't matter so much. That's where your biggest gain can lie, right? Is in the armband. So just think about that element of it. But it is very, very team dependent. If you're not comfortable with that next week, wait for an opportunity. Something might fall out around about, AFCON injuries at the same time, that sort of thing. Next up is Daniel Burton, -4 to upgrade Stack to Enzo, Rice, Minter, or just play Reinders. Which upgrade would be your preference? What I would say is, like, I've gone Enzo, but it's specific for me that I'm now basically pretty much locked into wildcard game week 13. If I was looking longer term, I probably would have gone Rice. I think the time to buy Minter, ironically, was probably last week, not this week. Would I go Reinders to Minter, Stack to Minter for a -4, which is effective Minter over Reinders? Like, break that down? No. And ultimately, my decision there, Daniel, would be just play Reinders. Kieran Murphy says, hi James, on bench boost 11, wildcard 13. DCL's potential injury has complicated things. Would you risk it and hope he plays, or downgrade Timber to Chalobah? Downgrading the Arsenal player is the wrong move, mate. Or Tarkowski to Richards to fund up to Thiago. That last one is better. It's not great either because Everton have a good fixture, but that's better. Tarkowski to Richards and then up to Thiago. The answer to your question is no, I don't think Calvert-Lewin will play based on Daniel Farke's comments yesterday. CYZN says, last Watkins owner here, you think he deserves a chance against Bournemouth? Wildcarding soon, but not dead set. The problem with Watkins is each fixture over the next couple of weeks gets better, right? Bournemouth at home, Leeds away, Wolves at home. Then there probably is a definitive bin around about game week 14, 15. But if I was sitting with him in there, great differential potentially. But I have to say, the data on him is absolutely awful. It's really bad. I'm just talking about general shot volume here. It's really bad at the moment. But were I sitting there with him in the team, I'd be thinking, well, it's maybe not my biggest problem over the next 3 weeks. Tommy Gonzo says, morning James, 2 options for me this week. Either sell Gyökeres for a striker 9.5 million or below, already own Haaland, Mateta, or roll and play Senesi this week and have 2 FTs next week. I think that with Gyökeres wants dealing with, personally. I think Adam Pritchard said this best on Clash the Correspondence, that for Gyökeres owners, they were probably looking for something to move him on. Like, I was getting genuine frustration in this stream every week, and I was saying, keep. But totally understand that, the frustration. I think now he's injured. I mean, you don't even know that he's back for 12, so I'd be dealing with that. You've got the best of it in terms of Mateta. In terms of short-term punt, João Pedro an option, maybe. I think if you've got the wild card left, that's okay. Otherwise, I'd look elsewhere. I think the one that will become really popular is Thiago. Newcastle's away form is terrible. I would go there. JMA543 says, hi James, best defender for the next 10 game weeks for 5.2 million or less. Already have Gabriel Senesi and 2 4.0s, so need whoever I bring into play every week. My answer to that question is Maxence Lacroix of Crystal Palace. Jigsaw Kid 95 start Semenyo or Gordon. Don't think it'll matter, mate. I don't think Gordon's going to play, but the answer would be Semenyo anyway. Ken Hughes says, hi James, with the next 4 game weeks in mind, would you sell Gakpo for Sarr from Palace this week? Thanks, hit the like, people. The problem with Gakpo, and this was part of my reason for my conclusion to sell, because I'm not silly. It's like, oh, Forest I'm 12, 13 is a good fixture, 14 is a good fixture, 15 is a good fixture, right? Like, it's all good. But what I thought about was, David thinks there's a strong chance that it's the same team that plays it on Tuesday night against Real Madrid, therefore he doesn't start. And if he doesn't, I'll be sitting there for 2 weeks thinking, oh, I don't know if he plays now. And once I hit the Forest game, I can't sell, can I? And it's like, it's problematic. So I'm going to say he wouldn't start every game over those forthcoming weeks anyway. You might be looking at something that's like only 2 starts. It's possible. Could even be less. So, yeah, Ismail Assar, I'd be going, mate. Zaris says, play Rodon or Truffer. James is an FPL god. Like and subscribe. Cheers, Zaris. Rodon or Truffer? I'm going to say Rodon. Just on the basis versus Truffer. I know Truffer's not doing terribly for Defcons, but like Senesi, I would definitely go over Rodon. Truffer, less so. Just on the basis that Forest have got a few injury issues. I don't think it's beyond reason that that game is 0-0 tomorrow. I don't think it will be. I think Forest will win, but I think that's a possibility that it's a 0-0 tomorrow. And Rodon under that circumstances might do very well. So I'm going to say Rodon, mate. Andrew Ogilvie says, what's the view on Kudus? Surely Frank keen to get him in the lineup. Of course he'd be keen to get him in the lineup, mate. But is he fit or not? I don't know. As simple as that, basically. If he's fit, he'll play. If he's not, he won't. Don't be fooled into anybody. Oh, Johnson scored him this week in midweek. He's going to prefer Johnson over Kudus. Please don't be ridiculous. If Kudus is fit, he'll play. If he's not, he won't. I suspect it's the latter, but that's a negative Tottenham fan view. Burke says, hi James, would you take Gordon and Van der Ven out for Bumo and Anderson -4 to start over Senesi? Cheers, mate. No, I would just be taking Gordon out for any of those brilliant midfielders that I mentioned that are cheaper than Gordon. Andy Max says, morning, mate. Which one would you buy this week and why? Timber or Calafiori? Timber. Just slightly more secure as we head into the December period. Calafiori essentially has got competition from 2, right? Timber's got competition from 1. As kind of really covered on Clash of Correspondence, I think Timber at the moment, mate. Samuel Jameson says, hi James, bench Gakpo or Collins. How many minutes do you think Gakpo plays this week? How many minutes do I think Gakpo plays? I think he starts. And I detailed why on the Weekender yesterday in terms of I think Liverpool might change their structure to what they used at Manchester City last week. If you don't know what that is, get off the stream and watch yesterday's Weekender. It's time-stamped. So I'm going to say 70-ish, actually. But I totally recognise that could be like 10, mate. Samuel, I've done. David Beck, hi James, hope you're doing okay. I'm just wondering whether to start Reinders and hope for miracle or go with Van Dijk or Rodon, which I hate. You've answered your own question, mate. I play Reinders. Jack Tasker says, morning, best forward to bring in for Gyökeres, not Mateta. Also worth doing Reinders to Rice this week with second free transfer. Cheers, good luck. I'm going to say get ahead of the crowd on Igor Thiago. Jonathan says, hi James, how do you think Wolves set up later against Chelsea considering going against Haaland this weekend? Not a clue, mate. How am I meant to know? None of us have got any knowledge in terms of James Collins and the sort of team that he's going to pick for Wolves today. I've got them set up in basically a 5, probably will be a 5, like a 5-2-2-1 or 3-4-2-1 with something, I think, physically strong in the central areas. But nowhere know him. He might be like a back 4 manager. I ain't got a clue, mate. Yeah. All that being said, we ain't got no information on the opposition other than we do know that they're shit. Anish Nakra says, hi James, Senesi versus Anderson versus Keane, bench 1, please. Anderson. GMA543 says, alternatively, I can use 2 free transfers to go roast out for 3.9, 4.0 goalkeeper. Play Dubravka every week and use the extra cash to bring Calafiori. Thoughts? The problem with that is if Dubravka gets injured. That's the biggest hole with that idea. So what you're going to do as well is you're going to use all the money. You're like, oh, I can get the Calafiori. Right, what are you doing next week if Dubravka got injured over the next 2 weeks? I've got no goalie. Oh, and it cost me 2 transfers to sort out a goalie. So think bigger picture. The answer to that is no. Cog says, hey, James, have no Arsenal defence and only 1 free transfer. Is it worth -4 to take out Rodon and Eze for Gabriel and a 5.7 or less midfielder this week? So it's what you're asking me is it worth a -4 for Gabriel? I'm going to say no. Morgan Reese says, Marino or Rice is my third Arsenal, wildcard 13 or 14. Under that circumstance, Marino. Sean G says, hi James, hope you're well. On wildcard 13, do I go Rangers to Rice or Marino? Have Timber and Gabriel. It's literally answered for someone else. Good luck. Josh L says, morning James, saw David on the weekend describe Verts as a good pick on wildcard, but what about Szoboszlai? Significantly cheaper, nailed, plays 90 on free kicks and corners, goal threat. He's going in mine. He might be going in mine as well, mate. Yeah, Szoboszlai is possibly quite decent, but it could easily dry up, right? I say dry up, it's not like he's killing it, but yeah, he's on radar for me, Josh. Patrick says, Captain and Boomer, a good shout. Do you think Spurs will be as open as last week? No. No, but I also break that down and also say this isn't meant harsh to Chelsea. It was superb last week. The individual quality of United's attackers is better than Chelsea's. I mean that seriously. So the individuality of Boomer, sure. Would I captain him? No, mate. Pridgerock Maniac says, 1 free transfer, wildcard 12. Would you sell Gordon to any of Sarr, Enzo Marino, or save the transfer and play Senesi? I'd make the move, mate. Players covered. Yash Wamp LN says, how important Liverpool assets from game week 12? Depends on consistency and what we might see going forward, right? Fixtures look incredible. Assets at the moment don't look great. Ultimately, if you wildcard in game week 12, you are going to go with 3. Because it would be the main reason to wildcard in game week 12 is to put 3 Liverpool in there, mate. Next up is Mooman. Says, morning, James. Diouf, Gakpo, Dewsbury Hall play 2. The first 2. All the best. Like and subscribe, please, friends. Thank you, mate. Grounders7 says, hi, James. It's Grounders here. Do you think Sarah's a great captaincy shout this game week? He's not even on my top 10, mate. Sheriff Gabba says, hi, mate. Selling Kudus. Would you buy Enzo or Rice or Casado? Again, short-term Enzo, long-term Rice. Do you have wildcard left? That's the deciding factor. I answered that for someone else earlier. Almost Seco says, any reason to start Senesi over Minter? Any reason, particularly if you had a Palace defensive, might be a reason. But for me, I'm going to say no. Ethnic Pojegu says, hi James, would you bench boost with Dubravka, Reinders, Senesi, Rodon? Would mean I'd get it over without any transfers and then focus on improving the 11 with 4 free transfers next game week. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you've got what you want to do next. Bench boost is probably going to be hindering that. Yeah, I'd probably get it done. Shout out for our patrons, by the way. Thank you as always for your support as we head towards half hour before deadline. If we do have anything in terms of leaked team news, please drop me a tag on Slack. But I can say now, Tottenham and Manchester United are not 2 teams that we normally get information on. So I'm not expecting anything close to deadline today. KV says, hey sir, what do you think about the Verbruggen Dubravka rotation from game week 15 onwards? The Brighton Burnley rotation looks good for the whole season. That Raya money can be moved elsewhere. Yeah, the problem with that is the 2 keepers ain't going to keep many clean sheets, mate. Dubravka's kind of a lock-in for everyone, isn't he? As someone who's owned Verbruggen for the last 10 game weeks, I can tell you that don't feel great, mate. So get what you're saying about rotation. That's fine. Have I looked at the long-term rotation for Verbruggen and Dubravka? No, because I can't wait to get rid of Verbruggen, mate. But yeah, I'll look at it again. If I end up keeping Verbruggen on wildcard, somebody shoot me. KO says, hi James. Start 2 of Van der Ven, Lacroix, Senesi. Thank you. 2 players at home. Valentin Dumitrescu says, hi James, bench 1 please. Paquetá, João Pedro, Semenyo, Bruno Fernandes, Sarr, Enzo, Mateta. Good grief. Shite that. That's rough. I mean, look, advantageous position. I'm intrigued that you've picked 3, 4, 5. I'm going to guess the other attacker you've got's Haaland and you've just left out. Fair enough. Wow. That's rough, that. One of Semenyo or Bruno Fernandes, I think, mate. I think if you've got Paquetá, Burnley at home, bomb pens. It's one of Semenyo or Fernandes. Take your pick from that. Another Hoop says, morning, mate. Please ignore if on dilemmas, but would you play Petrovic or Roast this week? Thanks. Best of luck and hit that like, guys. Petrovic. Taj Adams says, any thoughts on the Salah and Haaland draft for wildcard 12-13? Till we get AFCON transfers to shift Salah out. I will look at it. It can be done. Certainly. I think, primarily cutting yourself off of perhaps maybe a third premium defender, and also possibly cutting yourself off of the likes of Boomo in terms of structure, etc. But it is something, yes, I will look at. Don't see me going down that route personally. Abdul Hamid says, good day, James. 1 free transfer. Stack to Elliot Anderson and bench Reinders, or roll and play Stack or Reinders. Also have a champion, Goodmanson, DCL. Everyone smash a like. Be keen on sorting out that DCL problem, mate. No, just play Reinders, mate. Feels like the better move here. Bradder says, hi James, benching Gyökeres this week as I like the balance of the squad. As crazy it sounds given form, any interest in Watkins next 6, 2 high defensive lines, 3 relegation prospects, and Arsenal? No, wouldn't buy it at the moment. I've mentioned for me in wildcard 13, maybe even like lumping on him for 1 week at home to Wolves with an idea to potentially move that immediately on. But no, as said earlier, like, it's on the eye and the data, it's bad at the moment. Left out the England squad. Radar Buskin says, hi James, I've used all my free transfers, wildcard in 12 or 13. Would it be a better strategy to just activate wildcard now and have free transfers next week? No, don't wildcard this close to the deadline, mate. No. Frederick Hertz says, play Reinders or Conser? Reinders. FPL. Conser's near enough the worst, and I own one of the worst 4.5-ish defensive assets in the game. Pound for pound. You've got to get the clean sheets for him to be worthwhile. FPL Ibro says, good luck, James, this game with Anderson of Fulham, Senesi, Dewsbury Hall, Reinders, who to bench Dewsbury Hall. Marv FPL says, hi James, which free Chelsea would you go for on a free hit? Do you think Cucurella and James start? Thanks, mate. Enzo Fernandez and João Pedro, definitely. And I'm pretty sure I went for Cucurella on the weekender yesterday, so I did a free hit draft on that. Shaka Mura says, hi James, would you do Verbruggen to Sanchez to get second Chelsea, or just save the transfer? Also bench boost to Bravka, Estev, Reinders, Krupi. Yeah, there's a chance Krupi doesn't start, but then when are you getting rid of it if you've already used the wild card? Might as well do it quick while Krupi could start. Would I do Verbruggen to Sanchez? No, despite what I said about Verbruggen. Danny Burns says, Borough fan here, can't believe what Edwards has done going to Wolves, not confirmed yet, but our press conference was cancelled yesterday, so he needs to leave now. No FPL question this week. Best of luck. You too, Danny, and I'm sorry, but you might end up with someone better, you never know. Andy Martin, our hero, is in, says, good morning, mate, have a great lunchtime at the lane. Fabulous content again this week. Cheers, pal. Hope all is well. Mark Williamson, whose question I've just lost very conveniently, but I will find you, Mark. There you go. Morning, James. Hope you're well. Gakpo to Enzo, 1 free transfer. Thoughts? I've done it. Taj Adams says, but wildcard in hand for me. Taj Adams says, are you more tempted by wildcard 13 instead of 12 due to Foden's form in Champions League? It's definitely nothing to do with Foden. He does have a little bit to opening up the idea of punting more on City, Newcastle assets. And also my team is going to look quite good in Game Week 12 as it stands. All of that team bar Jared Bowen looks absolutely fine next week. So it's not enough reason for me to do it in 12. So it's a consequence of what I've got rather than what I want to go to. Tom Sleeman, is Gakpo a definite sell? No, you're asking the word definitive. No. Every chance that he outscores Enzo Fernandez over the next 2 weeks, right? I've taken the plunge for reasons I explained. Matty R says, good morning, James. I hope you're well. Who to bench, Thiago or Casado? Casado, reluctantly. Hoya says, Saka captain versus Haaland. Thoughts? Listen to Clash of Correspondence. Adam was clear. Right near the end, we discuss it. It's very clear, no. CM Punk 2310, what's the plan for your wildcard, James? make some changes. You'll find out. It won't be a secret, mate. I'm not talking about it now. Discussed a bit at the end of the weekend yesterday. Atlas Forland says, good morning, mate. Do you like this bench boost? Dubravka, Estev, Rangers, Dorgu, but can transfer him out to anyone and who? Yeah, Dorgu's a pain in the arse, isn't it? Don't think he starts today. Do you have wildcard left? If you do, I'd be quite tempted by Wesley Fofana. It's a cheapy one, maybe to throw in if you can. Joachim Anderson's okay for the next couple and a decent longer term 4.5 if you're short. Matthew North says, which would you prioritise? A DEFCON mid with easy fixture versus attacking mid with hard fixture? Wouldn't necessarily always go one way or the other, mate. Would take each one on their merits. So if you, for example, DEFCON mid, right? Casado, Tyler Adams. Right, if I said you pick one of them two this week, you're definitely going Casado, aren't you? Also, if we said, right, Semenyo, okay, challenging fixture at Villa or like a Minter at Palace, what we picking? Now let's move that in. Okay, would I pick Adams over Minter? No. Would I pick Casado over Minter? Yes. So it's circumstantial, right? It's not one for one. Charles says, hi James, my bench have Dubravka, James Garner, Burn, Rodon, worth to bench boost. Should I outburn, get Richards in? Any suggestions? Thanks, mate. Newcastle's away form is a concern, but their defensive record is pretty good. I'd be happy to proceed as you are. Morecambe says, hi James, any idea if Salah will be available for Game Week 16 or we have left for AFCON? We don't know definitively. But I would think that he probably plays in Game Week 16. Manchester United have submitted a request today for Brian Bumo, well not today, it might have been yesterday, but I've seen it reported this morning, for Brian Bumo to be able to play in Game Week 17. Cameroon and Ivory Coast's first game at AFCON is not till the 24th of December, so I think particularly Cameroon and Ivory Coast players, you've possibly even got a chance of playing in Game Week 17. Game Week 16, I think, for most of the AFCON players should be okay, I think. So it's not confirmed, but it should be all right. Simon Baker says, James, my mate Robbie Gaston's considering wildcard 11. Tell me he's daft, please, and instead give him Best Yoker as replacement. He owns Mateta before then playing wildcard in 12. Cheers. I mean, if in 1 week, I think you punch João Pedro or Delap, legitimately. If it's legitimately just 1 week, I think Liam Delap should, that's proper risky, should possibly come into consideration. I wouldn't even under that circumstance hate Callum Wilson. It's just 1 week, right? If that's all we're looking at, just 1 week. There's loads of players to the table there. I won't tell you, man, you're daft because it's always play it your way. But you're daft. Wait a week. Finley Scanlon says, do Porro and Gu to Richards and Thiago and bench boost with Dubravka, Estev, Thiago, Richards. Sounds fine to me, mate. Andrew Baker. Hi James, bench boosting with Dubravka, Krupi, Dewsbury Hall and Estev. Have 1 million in the bank in 2 threes. Who should I upgrade wildcard 13? It's nowhere really to go from Krupi. Dewsbury Hall, you're a bit stuck as well, 5.9-ish. Don't piss about with the cheap enablers defensively. You've got 2 threes. Yeah, there's not much to go to though, mate. That's the problem. Dewsbury Hall the King, put a little bit extra money in the bank. It's not going to solve your shit and it doesn't actually make you better for this week. I'd probably leave it. Just proceed as you are. Get it done, out the way, and you can focus then your transfers on better things moving forward. Diljeet07, what do you think of a free hit 13 and wildcard 14 strategy? It's okay. Questions to that would be... Who's got it bad in 13 as it could in 14? Answer to that is going to be Arsenal-Chelsea. Now, get it, right? It's like waiting one more, but is it waiting one more specifically for Arsenal? Chelsea will mass rotate at Leeds in Game Week 14, I'm fairly certain of that. There'll also probably be some Arsenal rotation. If you want a free hit in 13 because you don't want to look at Arsenal defenders at Chelsea, I'm not saying that's your reason, but if it is, I don't like it. If you've got other reasons... cool, but when I look at Liverpool, City, like it's all fine in each week. Newcastle, it's fine in each week. United, Okay, Palace away 13. But it's all right, particularly for the offensive players. Similar for Palace against United. I think that's also a reason for potentially when I look at one more is Palace for United. I don't like it. I get that. So there are reasons. Just make sure you've got the right reasons. Personally, don't love it massively. Jay Barker says, morning James, would you bench boost Dubravka, Reinders, Porro and Jorginho Rutter? I'm also starting Goo for context, so not ideal, but I want just rid before I wildcard. What do you think? I think Goo is a pain in your ass, mate, unfortunately. I don't think there's any reason to think Mark Goo will start today. He might easily be 0 points, mate. Easily, now that the lap's back. Don't love it. And you've got the wild card where you can shape something up. Even if Jay, you just shape it up and you go, right, I'm going to go on wild card. Esteve, Bijol, Twanzebe, Josh King, Potts, whatever. Just 1 week. I think they'll start this week. Bang. I'm not loving that, Jay. So my best advice to you would be don't overthink the bench boost when you wildcard, prioritize your right decisions. It's Christmas coming up. You are going to want to pick regular starters, even as your enablers. Something will sit and you go, yeah, bollocks, this is the one. Cameron Islam says, good morning, James. Would you play bench boost with Dubravka, Rodon, Senesi and Foster? Like and subscribe. Similar thing here. Now, I've got Foster in my predicted Burnley lineup, and I'd be more confident of that than Go. But there's an issue there. At least with Foster, it probably will be at least a 1 pointer. We know that he is fit and available. A little bit more than Jay's one, but I'm not in love with that either. H says, play Porro on Minter. Thanks, Minter. Eddie says, hi, mate. Torn whether to start Esteval or Szoboszlai. No Esteval unlikely to start, but tempting in case he does or feels every chance he could get a return off the bench. What do you think? Yeah, I wouldn't have Esteval in my predicted lineup today, but I very much understand your theory, Eddie, and I don't mind it. MW says, morning, James. Thoughts on Esteval as a 2-week punt before free hitting 12? I think what I just answered to the last one will... I mean, it's a punt. Don't think there's any guarantee starts, mate. Played 90 in Azerbaijan 3 days ago. Aswini says, no questions. James, just wanted to say thank you for the great content. Love from Sri Lanka. Thank you, mate. Smash a like, please, everyone, as Aswini's asked. It's much appreciated, mate. P. Macca says, thanks for the content, James. Suj, Nico, David Clayton. Thank you, mate. Peter says, hi, James. Start free. Mintar, Saar, definitely. Jockey Manderson, Senesi. Senesi marginally over Jockey Manderson, play the attackers. Luke Stevenson says, hi, James. Would you bench boost Pope, Senesi, Richards, Anthony? Current plan to wait until next week to bench boost Dubravka, Richards, Senesi, and Gomez/King. Better fixtures in 12. I mean, I like it for this week, Luke, but you have said that you want to wait, so I'm not going to tell you different, mate. Vanessa Valentine says, hey, James, would you go DCL to Wilson or Goodmanson to either Anderson or Keane? If so, which one? Thanks. So, DCL, fuck a duck, man. Set something up, Vanessa, that's going to get you DCL up to Thiago. You might not be able to do that now, but I think that's where you want to be looking to get to. I think Callum Wilson is an option specifically for what I just said, those who wildcard in 12. If you have a wildcard in 12, I'm going to say yeah. Otherwise, don't go near him. Equally, Goodmanson to Anderson or Keane is going to make your move from DCL more difficult. And you are going to want to move him on or downgrade him. Even if that's not this week, Leeds fixtures are about to get rougher. Sam Emerson says, big up the James Meister. No need for any advice this week. Done Yokeres to Thiago last night as off to New York. I don't know what I was reading that as New Year for work this week. Have you been? If so, any Rex NFL tomorrow is on the list. No, unfortunately, Sam, but have a great trip. Karen Tommy says, would you sell Gakpo for Saka for a hit? Do you know what? I probably wouldn't have. No, for free. Yeah, would I have done that for a hit? Probably not, you know. Bonnie Fluke, come you Spurs. Bench Diouf or Tarkovsky. Bench one of Murphy, Semenyo, Welbeck. I'm going to say bench Diouf. And from the others, I'm going to say bench Murphy. Tabletop Journey says, morning, James. Would you bench boost with Dubravka, Rodon, Senesi, Kudos? Oh. Or shout a flag on Mo, put me off. Cheers. Yeah. I highly doubt we're going to get any Tottenham information before deadline, mate. Though you might get information on he hasn't arrived, but it could be that he's not in pictures or videos that Tottenham post, and it might not mean anything. No from me, mate. No from me. If it's just, just ask yourself, if it's just Dubravka, Rodon, Senesi, how do you feel? 3 away fixtures. It doesn't feel right to me. Matthew Hall, would you go and die to Saka for free? I'm not sure I'd run from and die if I had. I mean, it's definitely available and he'll play. So, I get the reason for wanting to look at an upgrade. It's fairly obvious, but probably not. Strangely, probably not. Jay Lee says, start Gay on Mike Wazowski, as if I know who Mike Wazowski is. Hey, Sully. Gay, mate. It's me. I'm still on wildcard 13. Any reason I shouldn't punt Marino, considering it's not a problem benching him in 12? You won't bench him in 12, mate. That advice is free, like all the advice on this stream. No, there isn't any reason. Hussein Shorky says, hello, James. Bench 1. Timber or Diouf? I have Gabriel as well. Wow. Have you watched Arsenal lately? You're not leaving an Arsenal defender out, mate. I don't even think when we sit here at Chelsea away, I don't think there's going to be many. Bench Timber. I don't think there's going to be much of that. It's straightforward, mate. Reece M says, bench 1 of Semenyo, Sarr or Paquetá. Grim. Semenyo. Liam O says, bench boost of Dubravka, Estev, Thiago and Senesi. Yay or nay to have wildcard and free hit, thanks. The big difference to this one, some of the others we've just covered, is Thiago. So, yes. B. Badger says, morning, James. Dubravka, Diouf, Senesi, Keenan Dewsbury Hall, bench boost option. This one's a little bit better because you've got 4 certain starters there. So, yeah. Samir Shresser, and it's never going to look better with Diouf. Samir Shresser, Mateta caption. What caption do you want for Mateta? No, James, I meant captain. I know what you meant. There's a preference order to the left of me on screen, mate. Mustafa Block says, morning, James. Would you get João Pedro back after sending him last week for Gyökeres or Bowen for 1 week, or get Ekitike for Liverpool run of fixtures? Cheers. I won this on Monday. I've tried to help people by putting him as the player to blank this week. I would not go back to João Pedro unless you have wildcard in hand. If you do, I think like in Sujus and I, it's probably like, shit, for the next 2, it probably is the right player, isn't it? Anything longer, I wouldn't go back. As far Tariq says, hi, James. Is Dubravka, Krupi, Senesi, Estev bench boostable? Starting 11 is pretty strong too. Don't see any future game weeks for bench boost with upcoming fixture congestion. This one's a little bit different to some of the others in the sense what I've said for someone else is like Krupi is probably coming out of that team for Evan Nilsson, and I think it could even be this week. But with each week, that chance becomes stronger and stronger. So is it a case of get rid of it while Krupi could still get some half-decent minutes? It probably is. Tim Seibrit says, I'm not reading your whole team out, mate. Do I do Tarkovsky to Richards, Anderson, Eze to Saka, or Eze to Rice? Free transfers or roll? H says, currently on Gabriel, Saka, Eze. Is it worth taking a -4 to do Eze and Porro to Timber and 7.3 or below mid? Which mid do you like best at that price? Take your pick from the ones that have been mentioned all through this stream. Would I do it? No. FPL Memek says, good day from down under, James. Start Szoboszlai or Voltemade. Oh, I would start Voltemade on that sort of equation, yeah. Fantasy New B24. Hello, James. I hope all is well with you and yours. Likewise. Which 2 would you start? Senesi, Joachim Anderson, Gay, or Rodon this week? Thanks for the content. Smash a like. Gay definitely, and Senesi just over Anderson as per benching dilemmas. I think they're all on the benching dilemmas, mate. Big Chief says 4 free transfer. I haven't played wildcard. What should I do? I'm not reading the old team, man, because by the time I've read the names, I'm never going to remember, mate. Honestly, I just wish you luck and play it your way. Matthew Eziashi says, who would you start, Dewsbury Hall or Xhaka? Probably Dewsbury Hall this week, but yeah, he's not it, mate. Not for fantasy anyway. James McDonough says bench Anderson or Richards. I would play Richards. Sorry, Samir. Mate, it's like ask a different question, but in the same way. Cheers. Lunif says hi, James. Who's the bench between Casado and Diouf? Elliot Barker. Morning, James. Hope you're good. What do you think of the Bravka, Senesi, Elliot Anderson, Reinders bench boost? I feel like surely I've answered this. Also brought Reece James for a 2-week punt, but now I'm worried he won't start this week. Good luck. Well, it's done on it. Bench boost is fine, mate. Jurgen says, have to start 2 out of 3. Anderson, Byrne, Richards. Thanks, James. Just replace Richards for Gay on the bench in dilemmas, and there you'll find your answer. Torren Nichols says, morning, James. Hope you're well. Would you bench Van der Ven or Richards Van der Ven? Rohan Bajal says, hey, James, hope you're well. Would you captain Sarr, Mateta or Saka? From that lot, Saka. Tian Sibritz, you've got like your whole team as well. I've answered that already. I'm fairly certain, mate. Good luck. David Beck, I think my question missed. Sorry, mate. I can't see Van Dijk or Reinders on the list to start, but don't like playing 4-3-3. Right, Reinders over Van Dijk all day long, mate. For me. Kippel Rawat says, would you do and Dyer to Enzo or Marino for free? Currently on wildcard 13, probably not. Hussam Shally says, hi, James. Play Porro or Anderson. Porro. Valentin Dumitrescu, hi James, bench 1. I've already done that for you, mate. Come on, please. You're just denying other people their questions. I just mute people who do repeat questions, mate. I wish you luck. Anthony James, Gordon to Enzo or Sarr. Again, kind of covered this. Short term, maybe Enzo, but I think Sarr is probably the pick. Shani Russell says, Big James, you absolute legend. No questions, mate. Just the usual request. Noggin Rub to bring us luck from the FPL gods. Also, a special shout to my son Harris for the help with my transfers. Shout out, Harris. Well done. Chewy FPL says, hi, James. Bench 1 of Reece James, Tarkowski, Senesi. Senesi. If you've got James, you've got to play it, yeah? But I think there's reason to be concerned. Hassan, fairly sure I've answered your question, mate. Yeah, can see it there, sitting several times over. I'll go back and delete it, or I'll just mute you. No offence, mate. It's just how it rolls here. Karen Yadev says, I have 1 free transfer planned to wildcard in 13. I want to take one of Reinders or Ekiteke out to Marino or Mateta. Already have 2 Arsenal and 2 pads. Which one is better? 2-week punt. Reinders to Marino, I think. Ekiteke could look absolute gold in 12, and I'm probably in a minority in the sense I don't have Ekiteke in my predicted Liverpool lineup. Reasons explained on the weekend of yesterday. Darren Taylor says, hey James, what are your transfers this week? I've done Enzo Fernandez for Cody Gakpo, mate. Anton Phillips says Harvey Elliott and Gyökeres for Rice and Mateta. Or Bruno and Thiago, thinking bench boost 12. Mateta kind of priority here, so that route. David James Whiteway plays Semenyo or Grealish. Plays Semenyo, mate. Christian Appadale, bench Gakpo for Senesi. Wouldn't. João Cabo says, hey James, would you start out of Senesi, Romero or Byrne? Who would I start from that lot? Yeah. Dan? NMSWFC 99, morning James, deciding whether to make a transfer or not this week on wildcard 13, same as you. How many transfers would you like to keep available going into 14? Apologies if missed behind the content. Don't feel it necessary to have any. If you do, like great, but don't feel it necessary, mate. Tian Sibritz. Every chance I'm going like Bowen to Mateta every week, for example, and still having 9. Tian Sibritz is Raya. I'm not reading your team, and you've had that question already, mate. Come on. Mate, it's literally several times over, mate. You can DM me on Twitter or Slack if you don't like the fact you've been muted. It's just annoying for everyone else. Next up, Ria. Hi, James. Only just tuned in. Thoughts on Paulini as a cheap set and forget smasher like. It's not impossible that it will lose his place in the team. Not right now, but moving forward. Because the equation of Bentancur and Paulini just doesn't work great together. So, no. I don't know how I've ended up with your question. I seem to have skipped loads. That's Tian's fault. God, yeah, he was repetitive, weren't he? Right. Lavitran, sorry. Hey, James, I'm free transfers. Who should I remove? Anthony, Gyökeres and Tarkowski for free. I have 2 slots for Arsenal players. Get on with it, mate. Jokeris to Thiago, find your money from there. DW, Dewsbury Hall to Marino from -4. Yeah, generally I would do that. But you got to know you're moving Marino on in a couple of weeks. Majon Zen says, hey James, Reece James played Spurs in midweek 90. Shall I start him today? As covered for others, probably, yeah. Kuto says, why don't have leaks this year? I don't know. Moan to the leakers. Ask them. Say, what's happened to your sources, guys? Ketchup, HP. Prashan says, who would you go for mayonnaise between Timber and Calafiori? Timbers, I've explained. Pudge278, start to a Senesi, Rodon, Shaboshlai. I would bench Rodon out of that. Sam says, hi James, would you start Diouf or Richards? Have a nice weekend. Richards. Andrew Sands says, rolling this game week, getting Bruno, VVD and Goo in 12, rolling wildcard through 13. I'll be getting socks on Y fronts for Xmas too. Good luck, Andrew. Richie Sir would please help James. Emenyo or Thiago up Spurs. I play Thiago. CCL says, played Dubravka or Donnarumma. I would take a chance on Dubravka. I probably would. Mike Parsons says, hi James, can you solve my dilemma? Start Gakpo or Senesi? Gakpo. João Cabo, Minter or Dango this week? Minter, just in case Brentford changed formation. Tree Rodder says, Haaland only ever scored 3 goals against Liverpool in 8 games. Surely it's CP captain. Who's CP? There's a few swear words I could use in there. Hassam, morning James, played Porro Anderson, already done that. It's so boring, mate. Muzaham says, hi James, would you start Szoboszlai or Welbeck this week? Welbeck. Andrew Sands from Gameweek 12, rank Bruno, Bumo and Cunha for the foreseeable. Bumo, Cunha, Fernandez. Obviously Bumo gets moved on, so like how foreseeable are we talking here? But I think they might be worth the saving. Chris says bench boost with Xhaka, Mukeli and Rodon. Surely there's a better Sunderland fixture somewhere else. Although the fixtures are getting rough, mate. Luke Branch, Gordon to Gibbs White, 1 week punt before wild card. I think every single Nottingham Forest fan, Luke, would tell you no. He's not playing well. Andrew 1234. Hi James, would you start Gakpo or Pedro Porro? Gakpo. Ria says, hi James, Vane just tuned in. Thoughts on Paulinia? I've done that. Anand says, hi James, any leaks on Kudos? Nothing that I'm aware of, mate. We are 4 minutes to deadline, by the way, guys, so get yourself locked in. Let me just check a couple of Tottenham sources that might have something. Got the under 18s team for today, if that's interesting to you. No. Wow, what a picture that is. Sorry. No, it's nothing. I'm just going to check one more who sometimes has something on Tottenham. It's not a big account. Could maybe. He's normally reliable if it comes in. Hold on, sorry. I knew it. But can you answer my question? It's very close to deadline. No, nothing. Sorry. Gareth says, hi James, bench Semenyo, Rice or Thiago? Someone else but Semenyo. Offside footy F1, Bowen captain thoughts. Like, I don't hate it, but if you own Haaland, there is no way that I would do it. Nicholas Dolomos says, morning James, 1 free transfer. Should I do Reinders to Enzo, Minter and Dyer, or bank the transfer to have 2 next week? Already have Sar. I think Reinders will end up going for you anyway next week, mate, so I'd move it on. Enzo the preference. Vladimir says, Gordon to Bumo this week or play Diouf and have free transfers for next week. I'd move Gordon on, mate. Almost Seco, this will hopefully come post deadline. Apologies for wasting everyone's time by sending questions to which the answer was in dilemmas. Forget you can't delete cues sent before stream goes live. Is that right? Bozza says, sounds like there's going to be a hell of a lot of bench boosts this week. Yep, could be. Patrons, last shout. If we've got anything in terms of team news that might be useful, please drop me a tag on Slack. But I wasn't expecting anything today. We are circa 2 minutes from deadline. Rob Edwards will not take charge of Middlesbrough today, is confirmed. So it's probably highly likely to become the next Wolverhampton Wanderers manager. I don't know why that was difficult for me. Right, next up is my friend Rockstar is in. Says, hey James, play Burn or transfer in California. Oh, Munoz. The thing is, it's probably a little bit dependent on strategy, Rocky. So if you've got the wild card left, you maybe bin, but I think Burn could be quite useful for you for December. So I'd probably hold fire. The other two are better options, but there's a saving of money there that's a consequence. Hitoka, says Dubravka, Stack, Krupi, Keane, bench boost. You might only have one starter there. No, you've probably got at least two, but sorry, I don't love it. United Lay says, hi James, play one of Burns, Senesi, Anderson. Feel like I've done that before. Burn, I'm going to say. I know you meant... you're on bench boost, Rocky. I mean, you must be pretty happy with all your crap that all of us have got some form of crap, mate. I don't think that changes anything, though. I don't think. Peter Milligan says, hey, James, best replacements for Rangers. Zero in the bank, Xhaka or Elliot Anderson. Fingers crossed for a Bowen Hall before I sell him. Would not be bothering to buy any of them players for Rangers, mate. Yeah, roll some transfers, mate. Make it easier to get up to something better. That is deadline hit, guys. I wish you all the very best of luck. There is no Q&A at the end of this podcast today because I have a football match to get to. I'm off to White Hart Lane. So you'll be back with me for the Game Review podcast on Monday. 2 Clash of Correspondence for you next week. Manchester United versus Everton on Tuesday with Alex and Sean. Late on Wednesday, it won't be released till about 10 o'clock at night. Newcastle versus Manchester City with Simon Bibby and Johnny Pringle. Got a fan view on Thursday with the 3 relegated correspondents from last season. So Paul Court Allen on Ipswich, Sam Martin on Leicester, Matt Samuel on Southampton. The weekend with myself and David on Friday. The following Friday, we've also got Brighton and Brentford COTC for you with Sam and Tom. So there's 3 COTCs before we get to the next deadline, which is in 2 weeks today. If you're leaving, which you obviously are, because I am, please smash a like, hit the sub button. Have a great weekend, everyone. Ciao for now.